Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to our program that is going to be called M-Cubed Webinar on Work-Based Learning. What a timely and relevant topic. On behalf of all of the M-Cubed Advisory Board and our partners, we welcome you to our program. We're so pleased that you could join us for this timely discussion. I'm Mark Money, Chancellor of UW-Milwaukee, and together with my colleagues, Dr. Keith Posley, who is the Superintendent of Milwaukee Public Schools, and Dr. Vicki Martin, who's the president of the Milwaukee Area Technical College, we want to welcome you to this program and recognize that we lead M-Cubed. If you haven't heard of M-Cubed, it's the slide, it's the title that's on your deck in front of you. We really believe in the exponential power of the 3M educational institutions in this region, public serving, working together. And, you know, we represent 120,000 students who are the future of our workforce. They're our future citizens, homeowners, builders, artists, creative talent in so many different ways. So it's a pretty big deal. And we really like this concept of the exponential effect of us working deliberately on the educational and workplace pipeline. That's what we've been working on for more than 5 years, and we have great success. And this type of webinar and content sharing is just one of those. Today, we look at work-based learning as such an important part of developing talent. We know that the educational component in classrooms and labs is important, but we also know that workplaces absolutely reinforce the type of work and the type of knowledge that is so necessary in the requirements of the workforce today. You're going to hear many examples of the specific types of programs and opportunities that exist, but you're also going to hear some of the challenges and ways that we really continue to need help. So we're looking forward to really helping strengthen today's workforce for tomorrow. We pair education and workforce opportunities in a variety of different ways that you're going to hear about. There are many, many other benefits of us working together in these particular areas. As M-Cubed partners, Milwaukee Public Schools, Milwaukee Area Technical College, and UW-Milwaukee really work hard to continue to align our academic programs for smooth transition from high school to college. That is a huge gap in a lot of places, and we really need to close that. In fact, at UW-Milwaukee, we offer over 200 different programs from undergraduate at the associate and bachelor's degree, as well as many master's and doctoral programs. And we provide the subject matter expertise that's needed for our region. I want you to know that we also have a number of different areas that have helped with our curriculum redesign to ensure that all of our students have experiential exercises while they're in college that help them, as we're going to hear about today. I also want you to know that over 80% of UW-Milwaukee graduates remain in the region, and they occupy occupations that are in the fastest growing, highest demand areas, many in computer science, engineering fields, business, a variety of different healthcare occupations, and lots of other fields. So it's pretty neat to see where our students come from and where they land. And I think that's the same thing that you could look at in terms of the MATC and the MPS graduates. Those students are from here and they remain here, and they're the vital backbone of our workforce. I also want to reinforce the imperative that we've been hearing about and we know has long been our critical component, and that's to really help prepare diverse learners, those who attend our institutions, and really prepare them for a strong future. Almost every day I visit with a senior leader, a CEO or president, who talks about the need for more diverse talent. Simply put, we've left too many people behind. Also, simply put, there's a huge shortage of workforce talent, and we really need to help fill that gap. We need to support everybody in our community. These objectives that you'll hear about, workplace objectives, they really are important early on and then all the way through supporting the education to really increase employment for our students. I think as I stand back and before I hand this off, when I can speak for our advisory board and the leaders of our institutions, what we firmly believe in, that the keys to individual, family, and community economic prosperity reside in the twin pillars of education and employment. And that's why we're so pleased to have you here with us today. With that, I'd like to hand this over to my great colleague, Dr. Vicki Martin. Vicki, please take it away.
Well, thanks, Dr. Money. Really appreciate it. And yes, together we are the largest and most diverse source of talent in our region, and we're really proud of that. Preparing students for careers is really mission critical to our work, as METC is the largest of Wisconsin's 16 technical colleges. We have about 170 plus career ready programs that we offer that's connected to labor market needs. In other words, employer demands. Our programs outline employability skills that students will need. We have over 900 industry and community partners that serve on our advisory committees to make sure that our curriculum, our equipment, our facilities are really kept up to date and current. Our instructors are experts in their fields. We are the educational partner for area apprenticeships, and we're working with employers on an earlier entry point for new talent into the workforce, also known as Grow Your Own Employees, with support and internships, apprenticeships offered. Introduction to careers, K through 12, with age-appropriate hands-on activities. So we actually have a mobile lab that does much of this and goes to the middle schools. And early college models like our College Connection, which means sooner to career, less debt, and earning college credit while still in high school. We offer stackable credentials or embedded certificates built into our programs, so students earn an entry-level credential to land a career and then have the opportunity to skill up and earn a diploma or degree. We recognize, along with our MQ partners at MPS and UWM, that it's critically important to provide our students with experiences directly at the place of employment. We know students learn best when they can apply their learning, learn the competencies, and we also know it's the preferred method by Generation Z. We've built partnerships with major local employers, including We Energies, Advocate Aurora, and more to make this happen. At METC alone, more than 200 students are participating in some type of work-based learning, and in many programs it's required. Employer partners tell us that our students are well prepared, they have the knowledge, and they want to continue to be our partners so that more students can benefit from this. You'll hear more about our efforts today from the experts engaged in this work every day, both our students and our employees. We are listening to employers and our students, being innovative to create new opportunities for learning and earning, and collaborating more than ever to help students succeed. We know that this is the way of the future, and we are so proud to be part of it. And now I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Keith Posley, Superintendent of Schools at Milwaukee Public Schools. Keith?
Thank you, Dr. Mark. Good afternoon. My name is Keith Posley. I'm the proud superintendent of Milwaukee Public Schools. And I'm so glad to be here with you today to emphasize the importance of work-based learning, and specifically the importance of work-related experiences in the career readiness development of our students. We began academic career planning as early as kindergarten for our students because we know it's never too early for them to begin thinking and dreaming about their futures. The earlier that our students begin to identify what they like to do, the types of things they have the aptitude for, and the education and careers that align to them, the sooner they can develop goals for themselves and set out to achieve them. This is what our academic and career planning process is all about. Students making a game plan for the education, training, and work skills that they need to be successful in achieving their career goals. Along that academic and career planning journey, our students' ability to make early connections to employers and careers is so very important. And that's where work-based learning comes in. Our students visit local employers, discuss careers with industry professionals, get resume assistance, participate in mock interviews, job shadows, job fairs, internships, and youth apprenticeships. It takes a village to accomplish that. It's our counselors, our teachers, career and technical education staff, school to work staff, and many others working as a team to make this happen. But they couldn't do it without the many, many great partners that we have. We work together with our business partners, our post-secondary partners, our community partners to provide our students with critical work readiness skills they need to be successful. The pinnacle for all this teamwork is when our students earn the internship or youth apprenticeship that really provides them a way to test drive a potential career while still in high school. We know how valuable these internships and youth apprenticeships can be for our young people as they continue to further develop and redefine their plans. Our goals is to grow and strengthen these partnerships and to greatly increase the numbers of students who participate in work-based learning. Today, you will hear from a panel with employers and students who are part of the work-based learning effort, and you will learn how you can get involved. To begin, I will ask Ms. Stephanie O'Connor-Scoots, the supervisor of the School to Work Transition Programs with the Milwaukee Public Schools, to start us off. Stephanie, take it away. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Posley. Work-based learning comes in many different forms, and we are fortunate that through our institutions, we're able to offer students a wide variety through the partnerships with employers. When you get right down to it, work-based learning is the umbrella term used to identify the activities which collaboratively engage employers and schools in providing structured learning experiences for our students. These experiences focus on assisting students to develop broad, transferable skills for post-secondary education and the workplace. There are 5 main categories of work-based learning that students have the opportunity to participate in, with the majority occurring across all 3 of our educational institutions. They include internships, apprenticeships and youth apprenticeships, school to work transition programs, service learning, as well as clinicals and practicums. We created an M-cubed work-based learning's definition document to provide you with further details on each of the 5 areas, which of the 3 institutions offer them, and what they entail. This guide will be provided along with others that you will hear and see referenced after the webinar today. As you will see, they have common themes of students experiencing and engaging in real-world work with varying levels of support, in some cases getting paid, and in many cases also receiving course credit. The research on work-based learning is extensive and effects are consistently positive in relationship to many different areas. While researchers are cautious about isolating the effects of work-based learning, they do acknowledge that it may play a crucial indirect role in improving outcomes for at-risk students. There appear to be positive effects on students' educational outcomes, their attitudes, and short-term employment prospects. The following are just a few key highlights from the body of research referenced in the handout. There are positive educational and vocational outcomes of work-based learning at both the secondary and the post-secondary levels, including things like higher attendance, on-time graduation, increased engagement in school, decreased dropout rates, higher rates of post-secondary enrollment 1 to 3 years after high school graduation, and in some cases, higher GPAs, the likelihood of full-time employment, whether enrolled in post-secondary or not, is also greatly increased. There are also positive attitudinal outcomes for students, including helping them to clarify career goals, developing an acquisition of transferable skills such as decision-making, problem-solving, teamwork, interpersonal communication skills, customer relations, performance and communications skills as well. Students' acquisition and production of new knowledge, as well as application of knowledge to real-world situation, improves. Students showed an improved attitude toward work, and they exhibit greater acceptance of personal responsibility, as well as having a greater perception of their self-worth, including things as their employability and employment options, post-secondary education plans, and career planning. Finally, there are immense positive outcomes for employers. Just to highlight a few, number 1, the development of the talent pipeline, increased community engagement, enhanced perspective of current workforce through exposure of fresh ideas from the student workers. There's also oftentimes an increase in productivity through the extra manpower from student workers, which provides additional support to current employees, thus allowing employees to be freed up to work on higher tasks and reduce burnouts. It's also been shown to increase employee retention rate, and many report higher 5-year retention rate for those individuals who have been hired to their company through an internship. Now I would like to turn it over to another member of the MCube Work-Based Learning team, Jenny McGilligan, Director of Student Employment and Transfer from MATC. Jenny?
Thank you, Stephanie. Now that we've set the stage and defined work-based learning and some of its benefits, let's take a look at what the M-Cubed Work-Based Learning team is doing to better align our work and grow these opportunities. Next slide, please. In the 2019-2020 school year, across our institutions, we had almost 6,000 students engaged in all of the types of work-based learning activities that Stephanie just mentioned. Again, using the 2019-2020 data as our best pre-pandemic data source, we learned that about 25% of MPS alumni pursued programs that included work-based learning experiences at both MATC and UWM, not combined, but at both institutions. The work-based learning team set a goal for next year to increase this percentage to 30% at both MATC and UWM. This is an increase of approximately 250 students. One strategy to accomplish this is communicating directly with MPS students already engaged in work-based learning to help them connect the dots to higher education and see how they can continue into an even more progressive work-based learning experience. As Stephanie shared, there's great benefit to participating in work-based learning, and we want MPS students to know that these types of opportunities, these types of learning experiences also exist at MATC and UWM. Other initiatives that we're working on together include the MPS Job Fair. Next slide, please. This has been an annual fair since 2018, held at the UWM campus, and to date, more than 3,000 MPS students have attended. Together, we plan and coordinate the event, and we also provide staff ahead of time to help prepare students to meet the employers with resume reviews and mock interviews. The fair was held virtually in 2021, but is returning to in-person this year for juniors and virtual for seniors. For any employers on this call that might be interested in attending, a registration link will be sent to you in the follow-up email after this webinar. Additionally, UWM and MATC are working on development of on-campus jobs and internships for MPS graduates. On-campus jobs are known to support higher GPAs, develop connections to the institution, and promote student success by offering more flexibility to accommodate class scheduling. We are also making a very intentional relationship with the MPS team to grow on-campus employment opportunities for MPS students with disabilities. One example of this is the Journey Forward Adulting 101 event. I just love that name, Adulting 101. I think maybe we all could use that occasionally. Where 100 MPS students will visit the MATC campus and participate in a series of workshops related to workforce development and post-secondary success. We're also in discussion in streamlining connectivity with our business partners. Next slide, please. Some examples include developing a contact list for each of the organization's work-based learning staff, so employers have a clear roadmap of contacts. We've shared our employer partners across the institutions to see how we can better collaborate with our stakeholders. And currently, we're working on a high-touch, low-touch resource document for employers so they can see the variety of engagement opportunities at all three of our institutions. While the teams at MPS, UWM, and METC work to develop the programs and relationships needed for these early workforce learning experiences, it is really our students and our employer partners that are the heart of the work-based learning programs. With that, I would like to turn the mic over to Jerry Backey, Manager of Workforce Development at Advocate Aurora Health, to lead our panel discussion. Advocate Aurora has been a strong supporter of all three of our institutions individually, as well as supporting M-Cubed initiatives. Jerry will facilitate a conversation with students who have engaged in work-based learning, as well as bring a second employer voice who is also engaged in work-based learning for us to hear. So with that, please help me welcome Jerry Backey.
Thank you, Jenny. First, it's a pleasure to be here. Was an honor to be asked to facilitate this panel. Just a quick intro about me. I am the Manager of Workforce Development for Advocate Aurora Health. I oversee a team system-wide that focuses primarily on building employment pathways for the community to come into our organization, as well as for our frontline team members to move up within the organization. Just a little bit of background on Advocate Aurora Health. We are a system of 70,000 plus team members, 26 hospitals, and 500 sites of care across Illinois and Wisconsin. Also proud to share that Advocate Aurora Health has developed and currently runs several work-based learning programs. We have several registered apprenticeship programs, co-ops, internships, externships, and other paid training programs. So a lot to talk about today. We'll try to fit in as much as possible here. But first, I want to introduce our panel. So I will introduce our panelists and have them tell us a little bit about themselves, their name, where they work, and what work-based learning program they attended. So RJ, I'll turn it over to you first.
Good afternoon, everybody. I was part of the CATP program, the Community Assessment Training Program, where when I was in high school, I volunteered at a couple of different sites, one being the VA hospital was my first site, and then one being Sinai in the shipping receiving department. I'm currently, right now, I'm the supervisor at Aurora Sinai Medical Center of Environmental Service, Transport, and Lineage Services.
Wonderful. It's a pleasure to have RJ here today. And then I will also introduce Alejandro.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alejandro Tello. I'm a student right now, currently at METC. I'm an alumni from MPS, and I was part of the youth apprenticeship program with them. The program gave me the opportunity to be able to work with We Energies, and I managed to land an apprenticeship here as a designer. Currently right now I'm at METC, just going through my education to graduate this May.
Perfect, thanks Alejandro. And then Aurelie.
Hi, my name is Aurelie. I am a UWM student.
Great.
And working as a CNA at Aurora St. Luke's. And I did the clinical CNA program through MPS.
Perfect, thanks Aurelie. And as Jenny mentioned, we also wanted to have another employer voice at the table here. So I'd like to introduce Russ and have him introduce himself.
Hi, thanks for having me on. I'm president of Lakefront Brewery here in town, and we've been working with MPS students for several years here. It's always been a very positive experience, and so I'm happy that I have a chance to talk about it today.
Thanks, Russ. Pleasure to have you here. So RJ, I'm going to pick on you first. Tell us a little bit more about your work-based experience when you were an MPS student. How did it impact your life?
It impacted my life in several ways. One being when I was in the CATP program, I actually another site that I worked at was the Milwaukee School Board that's on Valley Street, and I was the AM cook. When I started doing that in the CATP program, they have another program called the OJT, where after you've been in the CATP program, you graduate to be in the OJT, and that's on the job training. And they actually pay you to for being in that program while you're in high school. So I was the AM cook, and then the semester ended, I graduated, and then they hired me back on for the summer. So that's where I found my love and my passion for cooking. And after I left there, I actually attended Mayad College, the Art Institute on Buffalo and Water, and I actually attained my associate's degree in culinary arts. I don't know how culinary arts intertwine with being the supervisor of environmental service, transport, or linen services, but it all worked out for the good.
Yeah. So it sounds like you are where you are today based on what you originally did in that work-based learning program though.
Yes, it taught me a few things. One thing it did teach me is budgeting. They taught me how, Miss Harris, she taught me how to open up my first bank account, how to deposit my checks into my bank account. Actually, my first check, they actually took me to deposit my first check into my bank account. So I learned how to sign the back of my check and everything like that. So they was really helping me for being an adult at a very early age. So I learned a lot from being in the CATP program.
That's amazing. It sounds like you're getting, not only on the job learning skills, but those critical life skills as well, which contributed to where you are today. So thank you for sharing. I'll definitely circle back to you in a few. I'm gonna go over to Alejandro now. So Alejandro, what knowledge and skills did you gain in your work-based learning experience that you may have not learned in the classroom?
For me, especially, it would be having that real life experience at We Energies. I definitely loved when I had to work with my mentor and such with preparing any utility designs. When I was working on them or practicing, they would always give me feedback on how to improve my designs and show me the errors I've done. And I always, and it got me in the habit of also going to them and ask them for help too, and not just stand around and wait for someone to come towards me. So I think what I learned, the best from here was having that face-to-face experience with someone who's already gone through school and who's already gone through the training and stuff, and helped me through a process I never have touched in my life. And while at school, I've gained a couple of things in my knowledge. I think here at We Energies, they taught me a lot more on what is actually expected of me here and such.
Thanks for sharing that. So I'm going to ask a follow-up question to that. It sounds like you had a lot of one-on-one education during your work-based experience. Tell us about like the mentoring or one-on-one opportunities you had with those you worked directly with.
So with my mentors, usually I had a couple, or like probably like 3 or 4 people I was always go to, but with them, they essentially show me like the type of work they do, and they would actually take me out to their site visit with them and show me what the designs they had, like what electrical facilities they're working on, what gas utilities they're working on. And they show me the process of where it starts from sheet 1 to sheet 10. And they go through me and explain the whole process of what they're doing. Like, well, we have to move our main to another side of the street because there's a conflict with the city, or we have to upgrade our infrastructure and such. Or if any, I would go out to site visits with them at my jobs too. And I would have like a gas replacement, like a service that's old, a gas main that's old. And I would walk through the job with them and they show me, oh, like here, this is what you should do. And I would go back and forth for my ideas on how to solve some problems in my design or what I see out in the field. And they would give me that really good feedback on how to pursue those problems and how to properly deal with them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Like a great opportunity. I'm also excited that Aurelie is here. Whereas Alejandro represents, the We Energies portion of things, Aurelie represents nursing. So Aurelie, can you tell me a little bit more about your experience with the work-based learning opportunity, and what was the most rewarding thing that happened during your program?
Yeah, so obviously being exposed to patient care and all those hands-on experiences, it actually made me come to that conclusion that because I was still in high school when I was taking this CNA class, and I was still debating what major to pick for college. I was in between either nursing or I thought my two options could be nursing or for pre-med. And it wasn't until I took this course that I realized what nursing actually was. And I heard about UWM sonography program, and kind of gave me that push that I needed in that direction, that I didn't only want to focus on that hands-on patient care experience, but also focus more on the science part. So obviously at work, I was exposed to some bladder scans where I was able to just some basic ultrasounds of to see how much urine patient is retaining. And it was really interesting to just, connecting the anatomy that I was learning in class to actually at work, where I could actually see and where that bladder was.
Perfect. Thank you. And you said something that resonated with me is, we hear also often with the youth we bring in for experiences is you came across something that you may not have known prior to doing that work-based experience. And then ultimately led to, the field you ultimately chose to go into. So greatly appreciate you sharing that. Russ, I'm gonna turn it over to you from an employer perspective. And first want to ask, how does work-based learning affect your organization?
No, it affects us in a positive way. First of all, the employees, the students from UW MPS come in, they basically give our labor a break. I've never used them to try to do a full-time job or replace labor, but the people always help somebody with their job, and they like it, and also possibly provides us with a full-time future employee in a tight labor market. It also makes the people in our company feel good. Everybody likes to help somebody. And it occurs at all levels. It just doesn't occur at the top level, or this is a management thing. From the guys down on the floor working with the students, it makes them feel good. The fact that they can contribute, and it's good for the company to know that they can contribute, and it also adds diversity to our company. And it's always shown that companies with diversity have always shown to be more profitable.
I think I'm going to ask you kind of a follow-up question to that. What kind of tips would you offer or share with other organizations that are looking to implement a work-based learning program but may not know how?
First of all, you have to have a champion. Go out there and be one person that's in charge of it, the go-to person in your company. That goes between the teachers, the students, and the employees. Make sure everything is there. You have to educate your staff on what is happening. Why are the students here? And so they understand the program, what is expected of them, to go along. I have to work closely with the teachers as they go along. Teachers have been great. That's probably one of the positive things of this, how greatly they understand the students, know the students, and watch over them. And I also have to follow up with them throughout the years. And like I said, to have the students be a helper. They're not a full-time position. They're not someone here who's going to make you, give you some extra labor for free. But you have to always look at them as a helper, which really helps the staff, always helps the morale out there, that they are here to help us, and they help the students in return. And you also have to make sure you got plenty of jobs for them. They do a lot.
Sounds like you are doing a lot of great work there, and I'd love to be able to circle back to you and ask you a few other questions. I'm going to turn it over to RJ. I'm going to pick on RJ a little bit here. Tell me a time during that work-based learning experience, and you've done a few, where you felt most proud.
Just recently, actually, I felt most proud when I started. My second site was actually working in shipping and receiving at this very hospital a few years ago. actually coming back and working here, being in a leadership role and seeing all those old colleagues when I was in CATP on the dock or on the floor, and they remember me, and seeing Miss Christie, who was actually my teacher during that time I was in CATP, during when I was a student, and coming back actually seeing her and her telling me she's proud of me, and having the students come now to EVS at our site working with us, and she telling the students now, like, this used to be my student when I first started. This was my very first student, and look at him now. He was in CATP, and now he's the supervisor now at the same site he volunteered at. So that was my most proud moment.
That's great. And it sounds like the work-based experience that you went through firsthand also impacts the way you lead as a supervisor as well.
Agreed.
Aurelie, I'm gonna go to you next. You know, you have you're in the clinical space and in nursing. You know, what's the next step in your career?
Yeah, while I'm still in school, I think while I'm still working, it's very helpful to see the connection of what I'm seeing in class to work. Like there was an instance, well, I always see patients with maybe sugar problems or blood pressure. And right now in anatomy, like I'm learning all those different things, and it really helps me kind of the more advanced we go, it kind of facilitates me to connect it to real life. And yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate you sharing that as well. I think it's great to get that experience, even in an entry-level position, to be able to then have that contribute to your education. Russ, I'm going to throw you a curveball here. And it sounds like you've been doing a lot of great work, have a lot of history with students coming in work-based learning opportunities. Is there a success story or two that stands out to you of individuals who have went through your program and ultimately been employed, or any other successes?
Well, you just see the learning of the students that come along, the fact that they come to your place. I know that this past semester we have had a couple students come to our warehouse that helped work on the line to build our variety packs and just building boxes. You would think that and they were kind of students that are a little challenged. You have to learn their skill set. You just don't know how it's going to get someone that's an A student or anything in this program. So, but the success to me wasn't only the students. It was the success to me was the employees that worked for me, that you never even expected to step up to try to help these people. And they're very happy, the students being there working. And also the semester before, we had someone working on our bottling line for the first time. And helping pitch in and also what, the success of both our employees and the success from him. He came back with his mother for a fish fry a couple of weeks ago and wanted to know if he could work here this summer, which was great news for us, and because we could use that. So to me, that that's a success story, that we could actually bring someone back and give them a real job at real time.
Yeah, and they got a good fish fry out of it as well. I can speak firsthand. So, and we only have a couple minutes here. Russ, I want to just ask you a quick question here. If there's any organizations on the line that are hesitant about starting work-based program, what would you say to that organization who might be on the fence of starting a program like this?
I would say, first of all, the students or the teachers are fabulous on here that work with the program. That was one thing that I was concerned that when I first heard about this, it's going to drop off the kids and run away or whatever. But they've been amazingly good about that on what they have. The kids have been lovable, and like you say, it gives the labor out there, which you have, a break, and so they enjoy it out there, and it gives someone, it makes all levels of all people in your organization feel happy. happy about this. Anytime you can bring anybody in to, to benefit them and gives you a break at the same time, it's a very good success story.
Yeah, thank you. And I fully agree. From our experience, we have hundreds of people starting every year and continuing employment with us, whether that's youth, apprenticeship, internship, that get their foot in the door by work-based learning experiences. So I can also, back Russ on that. So I wanted to wrap it up and thank Alejandro, RJ, Aurelia, and Russ for joining this panel today. We could probably talk all day on work-based learning and all the different, details and benefits and all of that. So we only had a few minutes today, but I wanted to thank each of you for attending. I'm going to turn it over now to Jean Salzer, Director of Career Planning and the Resource Center at UWM, to take you into the next section. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry, and thank you everyone else who has been providing us with such great information today. So ultimately, we have a purpose for this program besides providing you with information. Our goal is to seek to create better vertical alignment of work-based learning from high school to and through higher education. Our short-term goals, Jenny already talked about, includes processes that will allow MPS grads to become employed on campus at MATC or UWM before they begin their academic programs, providing them with an existing connection to campus and allowing them to focus their orientation to their academics when the school year starts. A longer-term goal includes bringing together employers who already work with each institution to discuss the potential benefits to their talent pipeline that could occur with a continued connection to those students. I'm going to provide you with, for instance, a Washington High School student who's working with the Career and Tech Ed program. Washington High School has a strong IT program, and they have interned successfully with a tech-based company during high school. Consider the potential for your pipeline if you then supported that student with a scholarship and had them working part-time for you during their school time or interning during the summertime while they're in their higher education program, be it MATC or UWM or both, recognizing that that student is more likely to stay with you after they graduate. Thus, you're developing your own talent pipeline in order to support and supporting students as well. So to that end, we respectfully request that you consider the value of maintaining and further developing your connections between us as institutions and individual students who can support your organization as they mature into their careers. Each of our organizations can talk with you about this idea, and we are also in the process of developing a coordinated outreach program. We also request you consider providing financial resources to this longer-term goal in order to increase the coordination efforts. Having a person available who can coordinate the efforts between the three institutions would bring the long-term goal into view at a much faster rate, thus supporting your talent pipeline. Thank you very much. And I'm now going to turn it over to Tamara Coleman, who will support us with the questions.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Tamara Coleman. I'll be facilitating the Q&A section on this call. The first question is is for Stephanie O'Connor. What are the rates of college attendance for students in school to work transition program as opposed to students not in the program?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one thing just for everyone's clarity, on the School to Work Transition program is actually 4 different programs. So we had one of our great stars, RJ, talk about his experience in CATP and OJT, but it is that all of the programs are specifically programs that for students who are in special education. While I can't tell you off the top of my head right now exactly what the percentages of students who go into and graduate from four-year universities that have gone through one of the school to work transition programs. I can tell you that students in special education who have gone through one of our programs, as opposed to not having had other forms of work-based learning, are substantially lower in terms of their rates of getting into post-secondary. So in other words, students that have come through our programs are not only the rate of them getting into post-secondary education, whether it's MATC or UWM or somewhere else, and also completing that, are substantially higher than those of their peers who were not participating that are also in special education. Along with that too, the rates of competitive employment, of obtaining and maintaining competitive employment, is significantly higher for those students who have participated in one of those programs as well. But we'll work on getting some specific data so that we can look at that. That's part of the goal of M-Cubed, is really making sure that we're diving into things and looking at what that vertical alignment is, as Jean said. So thank you for that question.
Thank you, Stephanie. The second question is for Russ or even Jerry. Have there been any concerns or issues with having interns who are under 21, given you are an alcohol manufacturer? We've shied away from intern programs for minors in the past out of fears of the optics and risks of underage persons in the program. How have you navigated that? Are we overthinking it?
Well, obviously you have alcohol here, but then we don't really let the employees, drink during the day or with them. We just watch them. It's mostly common sense that we have. You can have a lot of employees that are underage that work at restaurants and bars. That's legal. I don't see an issue there. And as long as you just do the common sense thing here, I don't think it's a problem.
Thank you, Russ. Jerry, you want to take a stab at it?
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have alcohol on site, but but I will say, when we look at bringing youth or those under 21 or under even 18 into certain environments, we really have to look at what the program is. So like in healthcare, there's pharmaceutical environments. So we really have to map out what they can and can't do, where they can and can't go. And as long as we have those conversations and let our leaders make sure those safeguards are in place, and as long as there's a plan in place, we've had really good experiences. But yes, it's definitely something that you need to think about when bringing youth work-based learning opportunities into your facilities.
Thank you, Jerry. This next question is for Eric Radomski. How do we support students who are working while simultaneously in school? It is not uncommon for students to prioritize paid work over their studies.
Good question. I would say that the first thing we do is ensure that all of our students in work-based learning are on track to graduate. So the first thing we do is have a conversation with the student and look at their transcripts and be sure that they're on track and all their grades are appropriate. And we do have an education and training agreement that is signed. And so, all the roles and responsibilities for the student is there. And then we also have an ACP process where we emphasize the importance of that, work and school balance. And we also talk to the employers about letting us know if there are any issues that they're having with students, that they contact our office. So they can contact, excuse me, Tamara, and she can intervene if necessary.
Tamara, can I jump in on that one?
Yes, please, Jean.
Thank you. Kari, this is also one of the things that we sometimes struggle with when we're in, I'm talking about from the post-secondary area. We recognize that students who work, whether it's on campus or off, have a stronger tendency to actually have a higher GPA up to a certain point. So we advise for students to consider keeping their hours of work or their internship at 30 hours a week or under, because that seems to be the cutoff point where data shows that the grades start to slip. And so one of the things that we can, that we seek to support, one of the ways we seek to support is recognizing that on-campus jobs actually allow for students to make some money while they're in between classes, and they also get to learn valuable skills, and it actually works with their schedule and ultimately supports their connectivity to the institution and thus their intention to continue moving forward.
Great answer. Thank you so much, Jean. Thank you, Eric. Our next question, it is for Stephanie. What is a successful work-based learning experience within MPS?
Yeah, so as we know that we have a number of different types of workforce development, work-based learning program opportunities for students, but ultimately I would say that the success of each of our programs are defined by students finishing with increased confidence and a sense of self that allows them to identify a career path and achieve their goals. I would say that many of our work-based learning opportunities are designed to position students so that they can bridge naturally into post-secondary education at either MATC or UWM to further enhance that education and training and their later career success. We really strive amongst all the different types of work-based learning opportunities here in MPS to provide experience that set each student up to be successful, independent, contributing members of the workforce and the larger society.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Our last question is for Jean. Jean, what kind of competencies can a student develop while participating in work-based learning?
Sure. So going beyond the competencies that are going to be developed specific to a student's major, such as would be found in a nursing clinical or in Areli's case, in an ultrasound clinical or student teaching, there are significant numbers of competencies that students develop because they are working in a field that's directly connected to their academics. And so those could be things like problem solving, working with members of a team in a collaborative nature, development of stronger interpersonal communication skills, recognizing the appropriate way to behave in a work environment as opposed to, perhaps a classroom environment, and general decision-making and many transferable skills that support the person moving into their first destination position after they graduate.
Thank you, Jean. I'm actually going to ask one last question. I thought it was going to be the last, and if there are any other questions, please put them in, please type them in the chat. But the last question is for Eric Radomski. How do I get, if I was an employer, how do I get involved with work-based learning? Where do I start?
Well, you start with contacting me or you. My information will be shared with you by Tony Tagliavia at MATC right after this meeting. And we will typically have a phone call or a Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting. We'll talk about your needs and goals, and we'll get started that way.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all participating. I am going to turn it over to Tony.
Well, thanks everyone. On behalf of the MCube team, we really appreciate you being with us today. You will get an email with a host of resources, including work-based learning definitions, a survey about today's events, Eric's contact information, lots of good information about MCubed in general. So we appreciate you being with us today, and thank you for your time.